You're hearing me, but you're not feeling me.
We're hitting nothing but dingers here.
Boy, crikey, that's a great point.
Hello and welcome here to the Weekly Chaos as we are coming to you at the speed of sound from the Hexapod Soundhouse in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm Luke.
I'm Nick.
And I'm DJ Teleprompter.
And we are here to give you a big shout out for our returning listeners and a coy hello to our new friends. Weekly Chaos is a headline news show all about that variety, being eclectic, and seeing the world from different angles. We don't know where we're going, but we know we're going to get you there faster than you can say.
Follow us on Instagram at Velocity Chaos Pod, Twitter at Velocity Chaos P, and on Facebook. Also, drop us some stars on Apple Podcasts, some love on Spotify, and toss us a sub on YouTube. If you were listening to audio podcasts, make sure you have your settings set to download so we get them numbers. You know what I'm saying? But hey, thanks as always for your support. Let's do it! All right, it's time for the weekend box office report hosted by the Weekly Chaos. Here we go with the weekend estimates. Top 5 grossing films across April 28th through the 30th. Number 1, the Super Mario Bros. Movie gathered up another bundle of coins estimated to be around the $40 million mark. Domestic to date is just shy of $500 million. Number 2, Evil Dead Rise is nowhere near its last breath as it pulls another $12.2 million in on its second weekend. That film's doing really good. Number 3, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, has plenty of words in its title but lacks tickets in the sold column at the box office. It debuts with $6.8 million for Lionsgate. Number 4, John Wick Chapter 4 grabs just about another $5 million and holds at number 4 in the top 5. It's in its 6th weekend. And number 5, Run It Back to 1983, Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, pulled in $4.7 million over the weekend for its 40-year anniversary release. May the 4th be with you all. All right, that's it. Honorable mentions here. Bollywood picture Ponniyin Selvan Part 2 rumbles to $3.8 million in its opening weekend. Lionsgate also launched the film Sisu. It's being hailed as the cross between John Wick and Mad Max with a Finnish backdrop. The European produced picture grabbed $3.3 million in its opening. And Big George Foreman, about the big guy himself, did about $3 million in its wide release for Sony Pictures Classic, well under what they were hoping for that movie. I think they were probably gunning somewhere around the $10 million mark. So that's it. That does it for our box office report. All right, guys, I'm going to just jump right into video games here. I think just keeping it in the world. You know what? No, I'll do my movies. I'll do my movies just to keep it with the movies here. Guys, Jude Law has been caught in a bribery scandal. Can you believe it? But it was all in the name of art. Mr. Law starred in one of Disney's latest live-action reboots, Peter Pan and Wendy, as the famous pirate lord Captain Hook. Director David Lowery and Mr. Law collaborated on the idea that he should stay in character on set and off set, so that the younger actors had an easier time making their reactions and interactions with him believable. It worked really well, as many of the younger cast members were truly put out by the villain. But when time came to wrap filming, the real Jude Law was allowed to emerge. To quickly ingratiate himself with the young cast in the shortest amount of time possible, Jude Law drove an ice cream truck to set and handed out free ice cream to anyone under the age of 12. Just kidding. It was anyone under 55 years because you're never too old for ice cream trucks.
That's incredible. I mean, what happened to method acting? What's wrong with that? Why can't we stay in character? Get things flowing for your mind. It's hard to change back and forth when you're trying to act something so deeply and so strongly. So. These need to relax, chill out.
I think he should have stayed in character as a pirate, as Hook, but like reformed Hook, and gave out ice cream that way.
I've come to love you all, but walk the plank. I haven't seen the film yet, but I just know for kids it is a little easier. Like you're saying, method acting.
Yeah.
But make method acting for the kids by always having Captain Hook walk around,
exactly, yeah.
Scaring the shit out of them.
Yeah, they're not getting surprised on filming day or a day for a scene. Like they know what they're getting into.
Yeah,
and they've already adjusted to it. I'll jump right into video games since you wanted to jump in, but then you were like, wait, let me check out. Here we go. We got the new gaming system. We've had, and this is handheld we're talking. We had the Nintendo Switch. Mm-hmm. We had the Steam Deck. that was made for Steam, basically Steam games. You got your own little handheld. Now we got the ROG Ally coming out. They just announced that the release of the ROG Ally. It's going to be a Windows handheld device powered by AMD, and it is one cool feature that they're going to have with this. It's just another handheld device, but a cool feature is that they're going to be able to have it attached to the ROG XG mobile laptops that they have, so you can kind of latch onto your laptop and use your laptop's processing for your handheld device for like super powered gaming.
Whoa. Okay,
it's kind of cool, I suppose, but it's not up my alley. I mean, I stopped playing handheld with the Game Boys, but I guess the Steam Deck was pretty big last year, and people like playing those games on the move, on the go. The big problem that they have with the Switch and the Steam Deck is battery life was anywhere from like 2 to 7 hours. They're saying that the ROG Ally is going to be potentially longer. They're aiming for that. Quieter fans, better processing with the AMD integration. So we'll see how that goes. I don't know. As a kid, it was fun, but who knows?
I mean, you say you stopped at the Game Boys, and I mean, I didn't get into the handheld stuff too much, but I had a lot of buddies who went hard in the PSP world and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I got some buddies who are in New York that'll game on the train because they got an hour and a half to kill, or like in Chicago and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's cool. It's cool to see that limit getting pushed in that tech, and the fact that you can bring. We know the Game Boy world of things where it's that little 8-bit jumping around, but now you can bring like real visceral gaming like we talk about every week like that. I can't wait to see that come to handheld. I think it's still exciting how you can push this smaller and smaller and make it more accessible. So
yeah, I think I'm gonna just take a swing out here. I don't think 3D is really built for handheld. I think like the 2D stuff works. And I've seen some of the games that have come out recently, even for console gaming. In 2D, and it's just really beautiful. The mechanics seem to make more sense, and it's small. They're more story driven, the 2D games, I think, or they're arcade, so you can just keep playing them like Tetris. That's why Tetris is so huge as a handheld. But 3D, my personal preference is to experience it on the biggest screen possible, because that's where you're really getting the immersive world experience. And so I think handheld 2D games probably great. That's why Steam probably makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of 2D custom games on there and small studio independent releases. So it makes sense there. I do know a lot of people, though. I think that's why Nintendo is smart by making it dockable. That's actually really clutch idea. I've never owned a Switch. I'm like you, Luke. I think the last thing I had was Game Boy, probably. Oh no, the DS, which was pretty cool because you had the stylus and the touchscreen. Yeah. That was cool, right? Because they incorporated it into games and things like that. I saw a bunch in a case the other day, like a Game Boy Flip or a game like the Game Boy that flipped and closed, and they were selling it for like $200. So they're still. And then I had that twinge of nostalgia, and I got my wallet out, and then my wife was like, "No," and I was like, "Okay."
But I have adult money. And before we leave, just. They're looking to sell this. There's the base one as like $600, and the next one like $100 more. Kind of doing that, like, hey, if you pay a little more, so
the tier system.
Exactly. That's fair. Who's gonna pay that?
More storage. It's all about storage and how many games you can fit on there.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of problems emerging with these tech issues. One of them, I'm gonna take the reins here and run over to electronics in general. Some of our favorite electronics, pretty much everything has transistors in it. There's I'm sure you guys have smashed open a computer, and there's little nubby bits with 2 wires, and those transistors that control all the electrical flow on the boards. One of the biggest problems that's plaguing our technology today is those are not recyclable. So of every year, about 50 million tons of waste is produced from electronics, either dead electronics or the production of electronic devices, our phones, games. Probably your ROG uses these things. However, the engineers at Duke University are working on and actually have developed a printing system that allows 100% recyclable electronics for the first time.
Whoa.
Yeah. So these transistors are made up of layers of ink and chemicals that are formed that you put inside the little transistor bits. One of the things in this process, though, is it uses a lot of heavy volatile chemicals. So the biggest issue with that is you can't just go putting these in a landfill. You can't just put ththese in a standard recycling plant, because it causes issues with, if you want to recycle these with other metals, it doesn't get integrated well, and you're taking chemicals that are, it's hazardous for these materials to make. So what these engineers have come up with is new inks that are water soluble. So the base of the inks is what they do is it's like, as I understand it in my little pea brain over here, is that they layer these inks one on top of the other to form the bits inside the transistor, but now they're creating inks that are fully water-based. So that means you have basically metal and water in these systems. So when our electronics are done, or you sit on your phone, or you mash your PSP or your ROG up, you can now recycle it fully, and now we don't have so much of a problem plaguing our Earth.
That's going to be really cool someday when they have compostable like electronics where it's just, I've had this phone for about a year, just toss it in the garden. Smack. And it's only matter, like there's so many cool things I think in chemistry that are yet to be discovered. That's probably a frontier in a lot of ways where you can create new substances. I mean, as we learned with the lightning gemstone, that there are new things to be discovered or created that might be more organic and might move us towards a society that is a little bit more conscious of that stuff. I think the flexible paper is another cool idea, right? It's the stuff you can fold it up, or not fold it up, but you can compartmentalize it, even though it's a touch screen, right? It's not just like the iPad. The iPad never changes shape. It's all the things you got to recycle with it. So it's interesting replacing it with a non-disposable electronic device, but you're saving how much paper, and so therefore you're like chopping down less trees and just steamrolling the environment like that. So I don't know. I think these innovations are really necessary, but the wide adoption of them is the key, right? Yeah. Somebody invented it, but now you need to get into the supply chain and make sure that those things are actually being, pushed out into consumer grade electronics.
I don't think we need to be so conscious of resources. We have so many more resources that need to be mined. We have the moon that we still have yet to go back to for resources. I don't think we need to be so conscious. We need to be conscious of power, reliability, and stuff that looks cool. And a lot of people actually don't know that you're supposed to put your electronics or get them to a recycling plant. I've worked at a few of those, like some days, like back in high school, like show up and you're just hauling people's electronics out of their car, and they have donation days. So I think it is a really great idea that they are trying to get something that is recyclable and future. Because how many phones have you had over the last 10 years that are just smartphones?
A dozen.
Exactly, you've had a dozen. It just becomes the batteries less and less, and that's the other thing with all these smart cars and electric cars is all these batteries are just ended up in landfills too. It's we're not thinking all about that, but I think it's a great idea and great step forward for us to be making stuff that's reusable. That's great.
Yeah, got to think about the full life cycle. Keeping it electronics, it's funny you mentioned about things because when you make something physical and robust like a game cartridge, you can still plug those in and play them, right? But now everything's ones and zeros and downloadable. And I was like thinking, remember back when it was impossible to pirate anything back before the internet became the superhighway for digital thieves? At this point, one of the hard and fast rules of the media world is this: if it's got bits, it fits in my torrent. The latest pirating fatality is The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom for the Nintendo Switch. Oh, wow, we're in the handheld world today, I guess. Apparently, physical copies have been at stores for a bit awaiting the May 12th street date. But some Nurgle at a big box store swiped a couple and they hit the black market with them. I read there were a few copies being sold at like secondhand video game stores, like the mom and pop ones in little strip malls, but they were going for like a few $100. And before you could finish Link's Lullaby on your well-worn ocarina, some smartass ripped the game files and uploaded them to the World Wide Web of whatever you want. So the fairy's out of the jar. There's no getting the red potion back into the bottle. It's out there. And I just wanted to say, to give some of the Zelda community credit, a lot of folks have put these self-imposed embargoes on themselves and committed to the full experience. I think they understand the intrinsic value of their favorite IP, and part of the purchase of that product imbues the experience with a greater sense of commitment, right? When you pay a little money, it's a little more meaning out of it. And those are the people I give a lot of credit to for sustaining good IPs, for launching new franchises, and for demanding realignment of exhausted characters that have just kind of been abused. I think you saw that kind of with Godzilla and King Kong. We were able to kind of get these really cool, epic movies out of them. And it's these fans who are willing to give a sliver of their income to cast an economic ballot in favor of quality that I think are the true heroes of kind of the modern media landscape.
Yeah, you could go online. You could download anything. I bet you can get the new. I don't know what movie. I was going to say Avengers movie, but those are done, right? you could easily get John Wick 4, probably the day it came out, maybe even before, just because people are leaking, like you said, these pirates. And over time, how many people how are we dealing with people stealing things on a broad scale, even at stores? Like I'm sure prices are higher because they have to account for stealing.
Yeah.
I'm sure prices are higher in the gaming world because we have to account for stealing.
Yeah.
And it just compacts and it ruins it for everyone else going through all this. It's just a unending, I don't know, escalator of bullshit that just keeps tumbling down, and all the good people have to deal with it. But like you said, in that situation, I'd still want to pay for these developers to keep making good games. Sure. And that's because if I made something good, I would hope people that would also see that I put in time and effort, energy, and love into it, and I want everyone to enjoy it, and hopefully I get some reward for it.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm with you. There's a really scummy person who just keeps, for some reason I keep getting these letters about somebody pirating on my website or on my internet, and it's just like I can't understand why they'd want a copy of these movies for free. That's what they keep taking apparently, but I don't understand it. It's nuts, and it keeps interfering with my internet. So. Yeah, it must be Coop. He's listening.
Yeah. Still got Napster going.
Well, speaking of scams here, I wanna hit you guys with this scam that's been going out. Are you the 18.25 thousand billionth Google searcher? That's right. That's coming right to your email. You just got notified through your Gmail that you were the 10,000th multiple of 18 trillion billion, and that's coming right to your email. You just got to click that link in there, give us your info, and we'll send you a nice little free prize. I can't believe people are still falling for this bullshit. It dates back to when the internet started, and you got those emails, send this to 10 people or you're going to be cursed for 25 years or something. Yeah, I was cursed for 25 years, but still, you don't fall for those traps. You don't fall for those. I don't understand how people still think that they're going to get some reward in some broad email. They're thinking that they're sending money to this prince in Nigeria, and that it's done. No, it's not. We figured out that doesn't work. No one got rich like that.
I hope he's still doing well.
Yeah.
I haven't heard from him in a while.
Stop sending people your information, but it just boggles my mind that this is still a news story. 20 years, 30 years later, that I guess there's still old people falling for scams.
It is astonishing, dude. I was hanging out with you guys all know him. Steele, we're hanging. He always gets his mom a computer. He'll get her new computers when they need updated, and he takes care of all that. And not to call her out, but he ran in one day. We were coming in from hanging out, having some dinner, BSing, and she's like, hey, can you come fix this? There's some guy on here that tells me he's gotta fix I got a problem with my internet, and it's one of those. It's like it sends her an email like you have to type in this code so I can fix your thing. Some random guy who is telling her there's a problem with your computer. That's like if I walked up to your house and I was like, there's a problem with your toilet upstairs. You'd look at me and be like, cool, man, I'll find it. Like it's kind of ridiculous, but come off it.
The phishing, it's the phishing people that are really creepy. I mean, that is a form of phishing, but I think LinkedIn is actually a backdoor that people are starting to exploit.
Really?
They approach you by saying, hey, you're a professional in this field. I would love to get your information about how I'd love to just talk to you. I have some clients who may want to hire you as a consultant or things like that. And you get on the phone and you start sending this person email about your stuff, and those are all things that they can use to backdoor into your other accounts and other information.
What was your childhood pet's name?
You're in the middle of like a business interview, like, hey, this has been really great. You've done great at this interview. But what's your mom's maiden name?
Yeah. What street did you grow up on?
Why would you ask me? Like, I think you might be my illegitimate son.
What's your uncle's name?
No, but it's true. LinkedIn's great because people are really proud of that, right? It's so exploitable because you're super proud of your resume, you're super proud of your experience, and so you are more than willing to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
And yet people are really smart in the way they prime you and then the way that they kind of lead you to those answers that they need to get into other stuff or to, I don't know, straight up hack you. I don't know. So that's it. That's crazy. You got to be careful with the scams.
Say people might be getting smart, but I think we might be getting too smart for our own good. I'm gonna keep it in the science realm with this one on something that might not be so. You know how I get about the future and developments, boys. But sorry, this one like kind of hurts to say out loud. Researchers from a study called eLife have found a way to replicate in a lab fat, not just any fat, but replicate fat to put into meat products for digestion later. So we can now supplement fat without actually having to slaughter animals. That might sound like a good thing. I think I don't know. I think Wilbur's going down, man. I'm sticking with the real thing here. It's gonna get gross. So they have found a process in which scientists found this process where they can culture fat from mice and pigs, put it in petri dishes, create layers of new thin fat. And they said, okay, this is a start. We can now make fat for food. Let's try it. They said, it doesn't work. It doesn't really feel right. This isn't the right texture. We got to make it thicker, Americans like steak. So what are we going to do? They said, well, we're going to scrape it up off the petri dishes and clump it up into little balls like meatballs. They already make that. You don't need to go to a lab for it, but fine. And they discovered, lo and behold, it doesn't just taste like the real thing. So these researchers have now developed a way where they will culture multiple layers of fat from these mice and pig cultures, and they can layer it in such a way and compress it to now integrate into replicated meat products, as it was quoted, for future use. The one thing that was said in the article was the controlled nature of fat culturing could allow researchers to change the recipes and tweak textures and tastes in our food in the future to really refine it. And I was like, that's great for you guys. I might become a vegetarian if this is our future. So
look, I think I've heard of this stuff before. Some people have gotten pretty far advanced with more like the muscle tissue stuff, and it's going to be interesting, right? A lot of people are like, oh, they can get certain flavors, they can get certain textures. My big thing is this: if you have three options, right? Either pay more for the really organic stuff where you're going directly to the farmer and it's fresh off the bone of the animal, right? Two, you can go and buy stuff that's like shot up with all the hormones and all the stuff that they need to mass produce meat. And on top of that, you got these animals at the top of the vegetarian food chain, so they're consuming vegetables and things that may have been contaminated with road spill, stuff like that. We had the big spill out in East Palestine. It's just like that stuff gets up into the food chain. Or you could have lab-grown meat that is truly just a reorganization of molecular structure, but guaranteed to not have any of those other contaminants in because they don't need it, right? At that point, you don't need to put that stuff in it, right? If you could just literally tell what's in there and the chemistry is, it's just meat, right? So if you had those three options, okay, I would definitely rank it above eating the juiced up pigs. I mean, I can't afford the first one. So to me, it's like, if it's an economic alternative that excludes a lot of the hormonal stuff and a lot of the other crazy shit, I'd give it a go.
Yeah, this is something. This is dating back to 12-year-old Luke in like 4th grade or whatever. And I said, this was around the time of them cloning the first sheep, and I'm like, this is great for humanity. Now we could just eat this one sheep for the rest of our lives. I think I wrote an essay on that. And so I'm for it. Let's eat that one sheep. We only have to. This is the prestige of meat. Like what is the morality of just killing the same person or same sheep over and over and cultivating that same person? And we're there. We're there. Why not? Or like DJ Teleprompter said, that's just I go vegan on that one.
This is gonna help. This is gonna help like farmers too, because if you sell the rights to your prize pig, Jerry, and you're just eating Jerry for 100 years, it's like, well, the molecular structure getting a little wonky, need to have a new pig, and it's like movie rights. Yeah. It's like DNA rights for a pig. It's crazy, but hey, like your family could just live high off the hog for literally 100 years.
It's like the mother yeast for sourdough. It's like there's Jerry.
There's Jerry. Jerry Food Company. Hey, another blend of technology meeting nature. This one's actually like pretty positive. I just quote directly from the Guardian article that I saw. They published this article. The header just reads, quote, conservationists in Brazilian Amazon are using a new tool to predict the next sites of deforestation, and it may prove a game changer in the war on logging, end quotes. So Previs IA is a platform created and used by the Brazilian nonprofit group Amazon. It's IMAZON, not a direct competitor to Amazon. Don't worry. You don't have to worry about anything. Don't sue them. They're doing the right thing. Jeff Bezos is like, what's their name? How does it spell it? From I to Z. And so Amazon has been working to prevent deforestation since 1990 in Brazil and uses Previs IA to analyze great tranches of data based on geographical images collected from satellites and combines them with trends in deforestation gang strategies. So like literally there are gangs out there operating illegally, chopping down trees. Like you meet a guy like, hey man, you want some trees? You're like, oh, just go. Brazilian logs.
You want some furs?
Hey man, you want to see my log collection? But the models that Previs IA creates helps to foresee deforestation before it occurs rather than responding to it after it happens. And most of these most models out there, like in academia, are long-term visualizations of what's going to happen to the planet. But Previs IA narrows the scope to an annual prediction. So it's like focused on what's going to happen in 2023, what's going to happen in 2024. And these preventative strategies could be massively successful at preserving like essential biodiversity in the Amazon. And by sharing all this information with government offices, the team at Amazon are able to create effective and immediate responses, right, that head off illegal operations. It gives prevention a fighting chance because the models deprioritize vast swaths of land that are less likely to be hotspots for logging. For instance, 90% of accumulated deforestation is concentrated within 5.5 kilometers from a road, which we know with conversion is about a mile? I don't know, less than 7 miles. That kind of eliminates a lot of the Amazon. So just by process of elimination, this AI is like helping governments waste less resources and people power on other sectors and focusing on trending areas where it's likely to occur. So far, government officials and special interest groups have been responding well and are lending a lot of resources to Amazon's efforts. Amazon.
I mean, I think it's kind of a cool system. Not only like you talk about how there's these silly tree pirates running around snagging up logs out of nowhere, but I know we've been talking about AI a lot, how that could help with the industry itself. Like you say, it might. Like, how does it people who legally who work in logging, or how does it get adapted across the world? Say, okay, how can we be more conscious of our efforts, not just to do, one of the big focuses, clear cutting. Clear cutting is like something that's really focused on by environmentalists and can be very detrimental because like you said, you're taking out huge chunks of land. Yeah. So like maybe it's like, hey, can we be strategic in our logging operations and still keep a wholesome environment, but with the help of AI? I think that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, they got to plot out whatever. Someone had to have plotted out everything before, so then now the AI can manipulate and think like, okay, we have these spots that were chopped down prematurely over the last 20 years. So these are probably the next likely locations. Yep. And then that is, I think that's a great idea for the computers to be assisting nature. You're leaving one in homogenization of planet and earth and people and nature.
Well, now they're going to be made out of each other. So yeah. According to DJ, they're going to be made out of each other.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. But Hey, I mean, and you're going to need some satellites to help with that. Speaking of satellites, I want to take it into space once again because I like space and it's a good time. But something that's happening in the science world is China's National Space Administration is overseeing plans to set up, let me make sure I don't botch this, the International Lunar Research Station on the moon. So that's kind of exciting because they want to have a joint effort between multiple countries. They actually have a lot of countries, well, I say signing up. I put things so casually here on the podcast, but they've been trying to recruit efforts from multiple countries, developed countries like the U.S., Russia, European countries for this project to put a space station on the moon. However, they also want to have participation of some underdeveloped African countries to try to get more of a worldwide scientific flow up in space, worldwide in space. But I'm gonna botch a couple names here. But next year China's gonna be starting with the Chou lunar relay satellite, which will be researching the far side of the moon, which is where they plan to set up this lunar space station, which is kind of cool, kind of scary because it's gonna be in the dark. But what are you gonna do? So, and also there's a number of missions like the Chang'e 6, 7, and 8 missions, which will be a part of researching lunar cavities or lunar craters rather. For ice pockets to hopefully find water. So again, this is a large scale plan here that they're trying to be researching the moon, which I just wanted to bring this up because we did go to the moon, Luke, and we're going back.
So you're saying that they're sending people to the moon? They're sending people there for the station. For the first time in human history, we are sending people to the moon, and it's going to be a great advancement for mankind. For this station to be put there on the moon's surface. A lot of discovery and research can be done, and a lot of advancements will be made that day.
I want to be on the lunar cavity team and just be like, what do you do? I just sit around shooting fat missiles down holes, checking see if they're moist. That's perfect. No, it's really interesting. The one part that I picked up on in that is the inclusion of Africa. I've read a couple. It's so stupid. It's like undermining my entire next sentence. But I've read like certain fact-based science fiction novels and other kind of stories about the future of space travel. And a lot of people say that Africa is ripe for it because it's so underdeveloped that there's so much room to have giant space pads and stuff down there that won't interfere. But also I think there's something darker there where there's less regulation on, we have to dump all this spare rocket fuel in this pond, like stuff like that. And my brother actually told me that China's very active in Africa right now from a business perspective. So of course they're like, yes, it's out of goodwill, but also we're taking over Africa.
Yeah. That just happens. And you know who else is taking over? Disc golf is taking over the world right now as we head into everyone's favorite update of the week. Disc Golf Pro Tour back at it. Jonesboro Open 2023. Defending champion Calvin Heimberg. He won in 2020. He won in 2022. Could he handle it this year? I will let you know just after I check in with the FPO side. We have our fan favorite Kristen Tatar, #1 in the world. Did not pull it off this week. She could not connect with the Jonesboro, Arkansas rolling hills and navigating the trees there. She came in 6th place. This was a tournament for Kat Mersch. She shot 22 down for the tournament, but in the final round, Haley King came firing back, and she shot an awesome round to tie Kat Mersch on the final hole, and they go into a playoff. And Kat just had this. She's a local girl. She's saying, I don't know if there's anything about hometown, luck or anything, but she definitely felt the crowd on her side, and that just willed her into winning that playoff. Congratulations to Kat. And let's go to the MPO side. So we had Eagle McMahon coming off of injury last season. He barely played last season, and our boy, Calvin Heimberg, #1 in the world. If he's not, in my heart he is. He went toe-to-toe. They both went toe-to-toe from day one on the feature card of the tournament. So usually they'll have whoever won last year and whoever's kind of playing hot right now on that feature card for the Disc Golf Network. They were playing on the same card. They shot the hot round of the day at 13 down. Other people were not there. So next day, what do? They shoot 13 down again. Mind you, the course record is 14 down. So they're like right there 2 days in a row.
Whoa.
And this is not an easy course, but because of the weather was perfect conditions, perfect storm of not any wind or anything.
Of no storm.
Of no storms going on right there. So they shot incredible rounds. But to top that, on that, you guys remember James Conrad, the holy shot? He threw in.
The hippie guy.
From 160 feet or whatever it was to win a world championship, basically.
The high five has been.
Yeah, exactly. So James Conrad on the second day, to just rocket him back up into second place, he shot 17 down.
Whoa!
Nearly a perfect round.
Whoa!
He shot 2 pars, 15 birdies, and 1 eagle to get 17 under, which is incredible.
Dude was on fire, man.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
That's definitely the talk of the tournament. But to wrap it up, day 3, weather was actually pretty nasty, and Calvin and Eagle are going tied into the last into the last hole at their scores. I believe they were 5 under, and Calvin pars the hole. Eagle McMahon goes for the biggest shot of the tournament. He doesn't make it. He clips a tree. He's stuck in the woods. He takes a triple bogey. Ends up tied for second. But Calvin, back-to-back Jonesboro championships. Congratulations. Nice job.
That's amazing. These reports are so cool because I think this takeaway for me this time around. First of all, Eagle's amazing for a first name.
Eagle Win McMahon is his name.
Officially?
Yes.
Wow. His dad had the foresight. Yep. He's like, I remember when I was playing back with Bill Nye the Science Guy on the lawn up at Stanford. Anyway, I was like going to say the interesting thing about disc golf and its tour right now is that I think it's putting certain cities on the map that I've never heard of Jonesboro, and I looked it up. It's like an hour northwest of Memphis, so it's out there, but really pretty small little town. But I think that's cool where you're kind of developing a whole new circuit of sport, right? You have the major like franchise towns and cities for each one, and certain places have a surplus like Ohio. But this is cool where there's courses and people committing and investing in these landscape manicured disc golf like areas. So I could see in a very short amount of time certain cities that weren't on the map getting on the map, and one weekend a year just tons of fans descending on that town. Like that could be really cool.
Eagle Win McMahon, named from the freest creature on earth, and named after what he does every year at Jonesboro. That's awesome. That's super cool. I don't have much to add. I just hope they're ready for the Chinese space program. So when they're up in the cavity, the lunar cavities, when we're playing disc golf up there, it's just like
ricocheting off things.
I hope they're ready, boys, because it's coming.
That'll be a whole new version of disc golf. It's all about the ricochet. Just wrapping it up here with the show, keeping it on a sports note. Many of us have seen it. Some of us have been the target of it. And more than likely, some of you out there listening are bona fide perpetrators. I'm talking about Little League Shoutin'. My name for this story is Out in the Little League Shoutin'. We all love rooting for our favorite team, and for most parents, their favorite teams are the ones that little Tommy Tim or little Jada Jalea are playing on. Unfortunately, one false move for some of these high school kids looking for summer gigs as referees or volunteer citizens investing their time in their communities through sports officiating. One small step from these folks, and the rabidness of parenthood just, comes out in full force. Now, I'm all for a good, come on, ref. And every once in a while, it's fun to be, what are you, a naked mole rat with Coke bottles for glasses? Creative ones are fine so long as the profanity is kept to a minimum. But at the end of the day, we can't be treating referees and umpires with over-the-top disrespect and in some cases, violence. Like, that just shouldn't be allowed. And I've seen it. High school girls soccer playoffs. Irate dad charges the field after a terrible PK call that ended the game. It was a terrible call. But look, we need some change. Some dignity restored to Little League fields everywhere. Well, one community, Deptford Township in New Jersey, has turned the tables on hollering parents. If you get busted braiding any officiating staff members, then you will be ejected from the sports center and banned until you volunteer for 3 games, a tour of duty as an assistant official at other games. The reasoning here is that folks will gain an empathetic view of how these games are run and put their energies to good use, making sports a viable community building experience rather than just showing up, sitting on their fat ass and just kind of hooping and hollering and making some 17-year-old just be like, you know what? I'm going to Harvard in the fall, you fucking moron. Like, your kid can't even run first base. He's going to second after he hits the ball.
Yeah, the bullshit that these refs have to deal with. You don't also need these parents that. What happened with the Easter egg hunting thing? Yeah. The worst kind of people are the parents of stupid kids, and that's what these parents are. They're stupid parents. Why don't yell at like you say? Oh, come on! Like, okay, everyone, that happens. Yeah. It's gonna happen, but you can't direct it. There's helpful, beneficial. Like, come on now, kid. Yeah, look at here, little hair. Come on now. Yeah, that's all you gotta do. Just some of that stuff. That's some of the best. Just jibber jabber jawing and just talking to the kids, just cheering people on. But I like that. Got to serve a tour in Afghanistan for 3 years, and then you can come back.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part about being a hockey player. I just slammed the board shut when I was coaching the kids. They're trying to coach their kid from the door. I was like, time to be on the ice. Slam. That's my favorite thing about working with my brothers and my old man running drills for these guys is having parents in the background and us just being able to boom over all of them because we're in our own sound chamber. And I mean, like you said, literally, it gets out of hand. Could you imagine being the kid that your parents storms the field and the game's over? And you're like, it's like, thanks, Janice, your dad ruined it again. Like, I mean, that's terrible. I mean, granted, there's some, when you get up in that high school level, that college level, and it gets pretty intense, and you can have some serious competitive games where it's like everybody's in on it. Yeah. That's when you know. But like, again, if you're going to berate a ref to the point where a game has to be shut down, check yourself. Stupid parents make stupider kids, okay? You're just causing a problem.
Such a teaching moment lost. You teach a kid how to respond to a loss, even if it's unfair. That's huge. And I remember Jalen Hurts before the Super Bowl was just talking about how, look, like, I'm not here about arriving. I'm just here to do the best I can and to win. And it's like so steely, that he's been through a lot of losses in his day. And then like the people around him responded appropriately rather than blaming the world. It's just like, it wasn't in the cards. Yeah. You made a mistake. You got to just try to fix it next time. And you believe that he's going to be back. I really do think.
Yeah.
I call it right here. Right. He'll be back.
I was going to say, my old man used to say just stuff like along those lines. He'd go, I've never seen a ref change his mind for getting cut.
Yeah.
Not one. No. Not one time.
No, I just think that it can get challenging and maybe sometimes a little lonely being a ref. And the School of Hard Knocks can sign you up for the fall semester and keep you in class from 8 a.m. till night school. There's a lot of folks out there who need a little comfort, a little unconditional love, a little snuggle maybe. Well, do I have a thing for you? Creature! That's right, Creature is a multifaceted little ball of enduring admiration and unending affection. They are specially bred from interdimensional cuddlebugs crossed with a high-static furball and a touch of horn scaly crawler. Creatures come in multiple configurations: furry, fluffy, fuzzy, funky, flammable, fluid, filmy, flaccid, flimsy, fubsy, and or frickin' frozen if you so do choose. Because you got to have ice water in your veins when you're reffing all these games. Create your ideal creature by going to the website www.ineedcuddles.gov and enter the code IAMGODVCPOD to unlock special selection features not available to other customers. This is not actual product, service, or idea. Just in case you thought it was, it's not. If there is something out there with the same name or you're unaware, have no affiliation, offer no judgment on the actual product, service, or idea.
All right, fellas, let's step on over to some clickbait. Ooh. Yeah, I got a little clickbait. So here's my clickbait headline: is the photographs bring back the memories. Yeah, that's all you get.
This is, you know what this is? This has to be Jim Croce news. This is photographs and memories. Won't you come to me? Yes, this is probably someone playing a Jim Croce tribute song or something, and some guy came up and just wrecked his guitar. Like, shut up, you stupid hippie!
I think this is one of those cool stories where somebody found a box in the basement they were clearing out when their grandfather passed away, and it's just him like chilling with Elvis, and like just he owned like some club that nobody ever heard about when he was 30, and you know all these celebrities came through, and it's just like, whoa, all the memories are here.
All good stories, all good stories. I'm sure that happened at some part of the world, but that is not the case. We're going to a different place across the pond,
Nice.
to the UK, where Philip Loveday, a 16-year-old, decided to go around London taking photographs of UK monuments, but for not just enthusiast purposes. His grandmother, Scylla, who is 83 now, when she was 16, would go around the UK taking photos of landmarks 83 years ago.
Wow.
She, unfortunately, in the last 5 years, has been suffering from Alzheimer's. So her grandson, being the chipper young lad he is, decided to go out and take photos of the very same frames that she took. He scanned all of her old photos and would actually take the same picture 80 years later and goes back and goes over the photos with her to help and say, hey, remember when you took this photo? This is what it looks like now. This is where we're living now. One of the things he said, what he's learned from having Alzheimer's, or his grandmother having Alzheimer's, is some of the older memories are what really sticks. So him having a chance to bond with his grandmother in a way with things that she remembers is something that's really brought his family back together. And I just thought it was a cool story because, you know, it shows that not all kids are little shits. You know, some of them got a big heart.
That's deep.
I think that's really nice, and I thank you for bringing that to our attention, DJ Teleprompter. I'd like to see the photos because 80 years is a long time, so to see those changes would be really nice.
Yeah, he said one of the funniest ones that they both laughed about was she took a photo of Big Ben back, 83 years ago, and he says it was really neat. It was like had a bunch of scaffold and stuff around it because they were working on it, and he goes, "It's funny, to this day there's still scaffold around Big Ben."
Don't be a hero, mate. You look after your mates, and your mates will always look after you. Yeah, cheers.
Yes, cheers indeed. Let's head down to Australia, this time Western Australia. That's right, specifically. And the police are looking for your help over here. We're coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio, but I just got to get the word out for this situation here. We have a manhunt in West Australia. We're looking for three guys, okay? There was three guys, and they are believed to be behind a targeted gang attack with an axe and baseball bats at a suburb in Perth's northeast coast, or northeast, sorry. I don't know if there's a coast involved. A man was walking to his room at the Bayswater Hotel on Saturday, April 15th, when three men jumped out of a silver Mazda and approached him with weapons. They assaulted the victim, and he suffered serious injuries. Thompson described it as short, intense assault. So he had suffered multiple lacerations on his back, lacerations on his head, and he received a fractured skull and subsequent bleeding of the brain. Suffice to say, it's very conceivable that the victim had died from his injuries, and it's very serious assault, but the victim is now in stable condition. So he's a trooper, and the police have been saying that it's a targeted gang-related attack due to the manner of the offender's approach to the victim, and that there's the three men are quite tall. So listen to this. They're quite tall, strong-built men, and they are completely covered, making it very difficult to identify. But if you watch the videos or see the pictures and you can't identify these men, we're just getting the word out best we can from where we're trying to help the situation from where we're at. And the police are appealing for anyone with information to contact them.
Wouldn't it be so weird to be with some, relative, friend, whatever, and you hear this story, and then that axe that's like always in the shed is not there, and you're like, look, I'm looking at the CTV footage, and like you could see the axe. That's the crazy part. Yeah. But what if you saw that and you're like, or it came back and it was like chipped or something was on it?
Yeah,
that would be so creepy. If something like that happened.
I just think this reassures my belief that Australians are the hardest people on earth. And I wouldn't mess with Australians except if we're cracking beers while doing it, because a man just got attacked by an axe by 3 guys, and they were tall and sturdy. They were
well built.
Well built. They were well built, no doubt. And this guy's stable. Now he's in stable condition. So shout out to my Aussies, but yeah, give
sturdy.
Give the Western Australian police a call if you got any info.
Yeah.
Jeez.
The police chief is just like at the podium. Yes, there were 3 fit units that came out of a car.
No cap.
Oh, yeah. No cap, bro. Are we calling for a ban on baseball bats and axes now? No? Anywho, because that just goes to show you in life that a lot of things can happen, but you can endure the most painful things, the most unendurable things, and come out on top of it if you have the true desire deep down inside, because, you just... while you're slipping into your coma, you just hear some parent yelling at you for making a dumb call. And no, they're the dumb ones. And you got to play the lottery sometimes and just come back, because that ROG Ally is going to be there. It's going to be your tried and true trusty sidekick coming at you. And you're going to have nice little meatballs curated right from the next door lab giving it to you. And probably came from the moon, the new China space lab that's going to be put in for the first time ever. We're going to the moon. And we can't fake it any longer. We got to be who we are at all times. If we're playing someone, you got to be that person the entire time, because the legends get leaked on and leaked off, and who is to blame? Is it you? Yeah, you're to blame, because you're the one opening up those emails. All right, stop opening up those emails that you don't know who it's from. And even if you do know who it's from, just wait till they call you, and then you're like, oh, okay, yeah, sorry, my bad. And just keep on winning. Just keep on Eagle winning, Calvin. Yeah, we believe in you.
All right, that wraps it up for this episode of the Weekly Chaos. We're super happy to have you all here. It's been a fun one. Guys, I just want to thank DJ Teleprompter for chilling with us and bringing some great stories to the table.
Hey, always a good time to walk through the news with you fellas.
As it is with you. Hey, if you are out there listening to this podcast version of our show, make sure you set all of your settings to download. That just helps us keep tabs of how many people are listening or how many people aren't listening. And you can also find us on YouTube and all the socials. Interact with us there. We'd love to hear from you. We also love to find story ideas from our listeners. So feel free to shout it out. Let us know what's going on in your neck of the woods. All right, this is Nick signing off.
And this is Luke signing off. Thank you guys once again. We appreciate the hell out of you. And like we always say, you're blind, you naked, scaly mole rat, Coke bottle lens wearing, flub, bub, bub. You suck, you stupid little kid. Have a good one.
That was the Weekly Chaos, brought to you by the Velocity Chaos Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in and getting your weekly dose of news updates. Make sure to check us out on all your favorite social media platforms at Velocity Chaos Pod and podcast at velocitychaos.com. As always, we appreciate your support. Please tell a friend, and thank you once again.